When I wrote and published my very first book as a final year medical student, I never knew what I was getting myself into. I was a complete novice in writing and publishing. I don't even have any idea on how to publish a book. In fact, I don't even know the dimensions, the formatting, mention them, all the technicalities that are involved in publishing a book. All I had was an idea to turn what I taught some set of persons to a book. In fact, when I was teaching them, I never knew that I'm going to turn that thought into a book. All I did was to teach them systematically. What I mean by that is I taught them in sequence, a thought leading to another thought. So we had part 1, 2, 3, and all that. And afterwards, the idea came, why can't you turn this idea or this thought into a book? And I went ahead to do that. In fact, I can still remember the book I used to write my first manuscript. As at that time, I don't even have a laptop. So all I had was my pen and a big notebook. I can't even remember if I bought the big notebook or someone gave me the book as a gift. And I started with what every writer starts with. Do you know what every writer starts with? Every writer starts with the first word. That's it, the first single word. So I started with this first word, and the first word turned to the first paragraph, the second, the first page, the third page, and I had a book, right? And the book contains 50,000 words. You can hear that again. The book had 50,000 words as a medical student preparing for his final exams. So if I could do that as a medical student, and not just a medical student, but a final year medical student, then you have no excuse to write your book. Over the years, I have learned a system to be consistent in writing and publishing my books despite my schedule as a practicing physician. Of course, I didn't know all that when I started. And after my first book, I have written some other books that I didn't complete because I haven't mastered the system. But right now, I have learned over the years the system that works, and I have used that system again and again. All you need is that first step of faith and a working system. Just yesterday, I heard about the story of a man who had an idea while he was sitting waiting to catch up with his flight. And that single idea of his, before he left the airport, he took a step of faith. If you will ask me what was the step of faith that he took, right? He took the step of faith to register a domain name. There's always a step of faith that backs an idea. And that step of faith is that first step of action. If you didn't do anything, your idea will remain dormant. So that man, he registered the domain for the particular idea, and that idea is what led to YouVersion. His story was so touching that single step of faith led from one installation of the app later on to 1 billion installations. You heard that, 1 billion. I mean B for billion. That is incredible. Every big success you have seen always starts with a step of faith and courage. There is no journey that doesn't have its own challenges. I had my challenges when I started the book, and that's why I'm going to be sharing with you my story, and at the same time the myths or fears that is stopping you from writing and publishing your book. I printed 1,000 copies of that book. You can hear that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1,000 copies as a medical student, not from my money, but from a loan. I took a loan, to print the number of copies. All I thought was, I'm going to get the money back from selling the book. But to the contrary, I didn't even recover my capital, not to talk of making profit. The books didn't sell as I expected, and I had to pay off later on when I started working. I was in debt and disappointed, so I stopped writing for a while, but I needed to find a smarter way to write and publish, and that led to the journey of learning how to write and publish, and the rest is a story. That journey turned my pain into purpose. Now I have authored 18 books and also helped others to write and publish. Nothing can stop you from fulfilling your dream except you. Now let's go to the myth that stops people from writing their books. Myth number 1, you need to be a great writer before you write your first book. Before you write a book. That's not true. I wasn't a great writer when I wrote my first book, right? I wasn't. All I did was to write my thoughts, to share what I thought, to share my solution with the world. I was just after sharing my solution with the world. When I was done writing my first manuscript, of course, I had to print and gave it to people to read. They helped me in reading, picking up mistakes. I can remember that one of the persons I gave the book gave me a feedback that led to the revision of a whole chapter. So you don't have to be perfect before you write a book, you don't have to be a great writer. All you need is the solution you want to share with the world. Probably you have a story, you had gone through a difficult time and you were able to pull through. You can share your story with your audience. You don't have to be a great writer before you put that solution into a book, right? Once you have a clear message, editors can polish your work. Now it's time to look at the myth that stops many people from writing their books, from sharing their solution to the world. Imagine George Clason if he had not written his book, or imagine that favorite author of yours if that author had not written the solution you were looking for. So myth number one, you need to be a great writer. That's not true. When I wrote my first book, I wasn't a great writer, really. Okay, all I had was the idea and the courage and faith to bring that idea to life. In fact, I remembered when I was done writing the raw manuscript, I had to print the manuscript and I gave it to different people to help look through the book, to help read, and let's see how it goes. And interestingly, in fact, one of the feedback I got from those that reviewed the book led to the revision of a whole chapter, right? So you don't have to be a great writer before you write the book, before you share that solution of yours with the world. You don't have to leave this world without leaving that legacy, without leaving that solution behind. Just imagine that George Clason refused to write a book because probably he wasn't a great writer. We would have missed the wisdom that he has shared with the world. Or imagine that your favorite author was waiting for the perfect time of being perfect before he or she wrote that particular book. So you don't have to be the great writer, the great writer in quotes, before you write your book. You can always learn on the job. All you need is a clear message that will benefit your reader. Your editors can publish your words, but no one can replace your voice. It is your voice, it is your story. So share it with the world. That's myth number one. Myth number two, you need plenty of time. Come of it. I wrote my first book as a medical student, 600 level, preparing for my final exam. So you don't need the whole time in the world to write your book. All you need is consistency. Can you hear that? All you need is consistency. You can say that all again. Consistency. If you could put 30 minutes, 1 hour into bringing your book to life, it adds up. In a matter of weeks or months, you will get your book, written. Your first manuscript will be ready. So all you needed is consistency. That 30 to 60 minutes a day adds up fast. Right? Okay. Myth number three, you must have a big audience first before you write your book. That is actually not necessary. In fact, you can start writing about your book from day one. You can start sharing it with whatsoever audience you have. Interestingly, do you know that your book can draw audience to you? So it's not until you have a big audience before you write your book. That's a myth. All you need is to have All you need is clarity concerning who you are writing your book for. I mean, you can't write your book for everybody, right? If you are writing your book for everyone, that book is for no one. So you need to be clear. For instance, are you writing your book for single mothers, right? That's your audience, single mothers. Even if you don't know them, they're going to look for you when you start telling people about your book, when you start writing about it, and you start sharing nuggets or insights about what you have learned as a single mother. Or probably you are a professional. There are professionals out there that needs maybe a solution that you have. So you don't have to have a big audience before you write your book. It's a myth. All you need to have is a clear message, clarity concerning what you are writing, who you are writing it for, what's the solution you are preferring, what's the solution you are giving to that set of persons you are writing your book for. In fact, your book can bring your audience. That's myth number three. Let's fire on. Myth number four, you need huge money to publish. Of course, when I published my very first book, I ran into debt, right? But things have changed, right? With self-publishing and digital platforms, you can publish affordably with global distribution. After writing my first book, I was discouraged because I was in debt. I didn't recover my capital and all that. But when I came back, I had to learn several other things. In fact, that was when I first of all heard about Amazon, Smashwords, and these platforms. Do you know that they have been for years? I never knew because I wasn't thinking about it, because I wasn't looking out for the solution, right? If you look out for the solution to your problem, you are going to get the solution. I'm actually very sure about that. You are going to actually get the solution to that problem. There is this part of our brain we call the RAS system, the reticular activating system. That system, it has a way of blurring away things. It has a way of blocking signals to you. Until you actually focus on a thing, you will probably not see the solution to that problem. So you should not be discouraged about the money you are going to spend to write or publish your book. Of course, if you have the money, the well-to-do to go all the way in terms of writing and publishing your book, why not? You can spend all the money, right? You can spend as much as you like, but that is a means. That cannot stop you from writing and publishing your books. There are quite a number of platforms out there that are affordable that you can use. And myth number 5: no one will read your book, or no one will read my book. That is really not true. As long as you have clarity of purpose concerning your book, you can define the avatar for your book. For instance, if your book is centered on a particular solution to single mothers, to professionals, to nurses that are just traveling from Africa to the United States or to the United Kingdom, for instance, that is your audience, unless you don't have clarity of purpose for the book in the first place. But as long as your book is bringing a solution, as long as your book is serving, that's one thing authors should also know. You should not write a book for the sake of writing, or you are writing to yourself or for yourself. No, you should write a book that readers want to read. I hope you get that. And that is one of the pitfalls for books that never sell. If you wrote a book that nobody is interested about, it's not going to sell. That's the truth. Nobody is going to buy it. Someone contacted me recently concerning publishing a book, and when I looked at the book, I told him point blank that this book is not likely to sell because people are not interested in what was written. I mean, if you look at the audience that are interested, they are just very small, right? And that is what I'm saying. When you are sure of your avatar, you have a clarity of purpose in terms of who you are writing your book to, they would come find your book. So someone out there needs exactly what you have to say. You are not writing for everyone. You are just writing for them. Don't disturb yourself about everyone, okay? Just be focused on that particular niche of that particular audience you are writing for. So those are the 5 myths that I'll be discussing today in terms of writing your book. Let's just add this to it quickly. You are still thinking about writing your books. Here are 5 reasons why you can't keep waiting. If you continue to wait concerning that particular idea, the idea is likely to fizzle away. So the earlier, the better. And there is really no perfect time. If you are waiting for the perfect time to get your book written or to even get a goal accomplished, that perfect time will never come. I hope you have that. That perfect time will never come. Never, never come. You can repeat that. So you don't have to wait for the perfect time. You have to walk through the time. You don't have to wait for the perfect time. You have to start right away. As long as you are ready, you have to start right away. So here are 5 reasons why you can't keep waiting. Number 1, you have a story that can help someone, but it's trapped in your head. I kept saying that you have a story that can help someone, but probably you do not value it. Sometimes the problem you solve, you probably would not value that solution. That solution you do not value, someone else is praying for that solution. So you have a story that can help someone, but you have just refused to share the story. Or probably you have a solution you can share, you can put into a book so that other people can benefit from your story or from your journey. Everyone, I believe, has a story to share. Every one of us, we have unique journeys. You traveled from Africa to the UK. What were the challenges? How were you able to maneuver your ways? You went from level 1 to whatsoever level in your profession. That's a story you can share. So every one of us, we have a unique journey and a unique story that we can write about. At a particular time, colleagues, they began to ask me how I'm able to combine medical studies with other things that I do. Of course, you know that I'm an author, I write books and all that. And in fact, I publish books for other people. Interestingly, do you know that I didn't know that I'm going to be publishing books for other people? It was just out of my own way of searching for the solution for my problem. And when I got the solution, I was just like, come on. When people began to ask, I was like, I can do this for people. And that's what we're talking about. So I began to hear this question like, how are you able to combine all this? And I was like, come on. That's it. I can write a book, to address this question. And that's what led to from overwhelmed to organized, a time management blueprint for busy professionals. That's what we are talking about. Number 2, someone out there needs your word to heal, learn, or grow. So you need to impact other people with your book. And number 3, your book could be the key to your next breakthrough. That's it. Your book, just one book, could be the key to your next breakthrough. I will tell you that single step I took, that very first word on paper that I took then as a medical student, of course, had opened several doors for me, right? It has opened several doors in terms of networking, speaking engagements, right? Because I took that very first step. In fact, I remember that after publishing a couple of books, someone reached out and was like, why are you publishing? Why are you writing? Why are you disturbing yourself? How much have you made, publishing? And interestingly, I couldn't answer the person because as at that time, I have not even made $5 profit from the books I've written. I think I've written maybe 3 or 4 or 5 books as at then, right? I was like, wow. In fact, the $5 that I made then was locked up in Payoneer because there is a threshold in terms of the amount you can withdraw from the platform. Was I discouraged? Maybe not. I continued. And may I tell you that I have made multiple of that amount right now, right? Because I have learned several things in the journey. It is my story. It is my journey. So what I'm saying is that you don't have to continue to wait. That your book, your very first book, second book, third book, whatsoever book could be the key to your next breakthrough. And number 4, you don't have to be perfect, if all books are perfect, there would not be any reason for new editions. So no book really is perfect. In this world, there's no product that is perfect. Do you hear that? No product is perfect. Every product has a deficiency, right? And that deficiency is the work for the next generation, or the work for the future, or for the tomorrow, right? So you don't have to wait until everything looks perfect. Your idea doesn't have to be 100% perfect. I'm not saying that you should not write what is not valuable. Of course, give your very best to whatsoever you are doing. But remember that you don't have to be perfect or wait for the perfect time. No book is perfect, and that's why there are new editions, right? And lastly, you need to learn to start small. Write the first word, write the first paragraph, write the first page, one time at a time, a page after the other. That is the way books are written. And don't forget that books are not written in a day. They are written every day. Thanks for following me all through, from my journey of writing. And I've had people talk about, I started a book, I could not finish, the days are turned to months and months to years. I have had that severally, and I have been there too before. And that led me to distill my 6-step framework into my latest book. Of course, that's my 19th book, right? I have distilled it into a book. So you have no excuse any longer to write your first manuscript. So you can write your first manuscript in 30 days or less using my tested 6-step framework. I have tested it again and again, and you can check the link under this video or in the comment section or description, right? And just go there and start reading. Be one of the first to read this masterpiece, so you can pre-order right now, and in fact you can start reading right away from now, right? Just open up the link and you can start reading immediately. See you some other time, and I look forward to hear your success story. Thank you.